Excuse me, this is really impromptu, but if I don't speak about it quickly, it vanishes. Energy always has to come in on itself. It can never exist without coming into itself and then coming out again, around, and coming into itself. The two, let's take the spectrum. Of course, we have the straight spectrum. That would give a bad understanding that the spectrum is going out and never comes back in. But I think it was Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, who did a round spectrum where infrared and ultraviolet cross each other. That crossing point, I'm saying, is eternality. This negative and this positive, when they cross, neutralize. They neutralize even time. They neutralize even space. So that crossing point cannot be seen or detected or verified. You can come close to it, but you never get to it. The more you try to come close, the further away it gets, because it's eternality. There is no space in eternality, and there is no time factor. Time factor is what controls past, present, future. And you know what? I'll tell you another thing. We live in a condition of only past and future. We are either lamenting for what we did in the past, or we are in constant anxiety of what's going to happen in the future. You know, and that's a fact. That's the you can call negative and positive, just to give a charge. Negative doesn't mean bad. Positive doesn't mean good, unless it's thoughts, you know, of oneself and everything. Positive thoughts about you, good. Okay, so here we got the crossing, and you can't find it. So let's just take the spectrum of light and shoot it out. Now we know it has to come in. It has to reunite in eternality to grab energy and come out again. Now this happens at a macro size of the universe. And I'm not saying without have some authority. In the science of entanglement presented by Albert Einstein, in that science of entanglement, he proved that there's many universes. So I say universes. So the universes in a universal and a macro universal system, everything has to come back in on itself. That time factor, because the time factor, remember, is what makes distance. It makes space, distance, velocity, acceleration, and so on. So that time factor starts for all the universes at a certain time. And of course, it's very large. And then there's another increment smaller for each universe. And there's another increment smaller for each planet. And there's another, it just goes on and on and on, because when it comes together, remember, it's eternality. So the increments are down, 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 down. So now we've got the spectrum, we got infrared, we got ultraviolet, and we now know that they have to cross each other. They make indigo. Indigo is a fantastic color, but it's a color that brings some realization of eternality. You can't get into it completely because you can't produce indigo in its perfection. You can't do it. There's no way. Some people say, oh, it's 500% green, and no, it's very difficult to get indigo to come in. So now that's in a sight, okay? But there's also indigo, that function of indigo, in the planetary systems. Remember, everything has its increments. From the macro, and when you know this, you go, man, every one of my increments that I'm aware of, in my individual increments, that increment is progressive all the way to all the universes. And it's also even progressive all the way to all the viruses and everything. It's the same. If I can identify an increment, an energy, a metal, or whatever you want to discover, you have to know it's going both ways. It's all the universes and it's all the atoms. I say atom because atom, in the contents that I'm using, atom is what I know is the smallest. I mean, I could say electrons and protons and neutrons, but they don't really know what they are, and they can't really grasp what they are. So now we got the basic principle is eternality is proven, easy. Whether you want to say in this function in eternality, whether you want to say there's a personality, because as soon as you say there's a personality, and you know that eternality is definitely stronger than myself, then there's a personality. Oh, I am governed by a personality. Oh, I don't want to be governed. So whether you want to admit it or not, there's you could say a small little function, but actually eternality has no space. Eternality has no time. So it's not a small function. We are a small function. So this gives a supremacy of the Lord. Whether you just want to say energy, or whether you say one Lord. So here I gave a function of color spectrum, which is easy to see in everything. So now, in personality, everything has personality. Sorry to say that. Everything has personality in it. It's functioning, it's moving, it's conscious. It has personality. You don't have to worry about it. Even a stone, in some degree, there's consciousness there. Some degree. In some degree, it's you don't have to detect it because it's not in my way. It's not useful. So you don't have to be. But understand, there's consciousness all over. So now, let's give it a personality's name. Let's give it in a astrological function. Let's give it the name of Rahu. And let's give it the name of Ketu. Now, Ketu and Rahu before were one, right? They were united. Ketu and Rahu were one. They were united. But Ketu's head got cut off. And now they're functioning as two. What is that? The negative, the positive, and these 8, and that's it. Ketu Rahu. Ketu Rahu function is in the most minute part of this universe, and it is in all the universes at the macro stage. That function is there. Okay, so now Rahu. Let's take Rahu. I better, yeah, take Rahu first. Rahu, the head. Now, the head has a brain and everything, right? The majority of us know that it has a brain. Sometimes we use, sometimes we don't. So Rahu is the brain, but the materialistic brain. And Ketu is the heart. 9 fingers or 10 from the belly button, put it on your chest, and that's where your heart is. It sits in the bone marrow. It's protected. It's the most protected part. And that function is there. All your immunity system starts from there. This is the warrior that helps protect you. So Ketu is going out of this material world. Rahu is coming into the material world. Okay? Rahu coming into the material world. Red. In the spectrum, red. Whether it's my spectrum or the universe spectrum, it's always red. And in my measurement, it's around 300 hertz. So now what is that that function is in my body. What is that? That's the energy center at the bottom. There's 7 energy centers. Now this is something. When you see some yogi picture and everything, they always show the energy centers as being down here, up here, up here, up here. They show 7 or 8, and up here there's more. Don't worry about it. Okay, but it's not that. It's me. That lower energy center starts from the bottom of my foot all the way up. It's quite a ways, huh? So that's a really good energy center, and that's Rahu. That's red, and that's really materialistic, low class. It's around 300 hertz. As you go up, it almost comes up like 100 hertz all the way. Here, 528. My heart is in 528. My stomach is in 440. Little insight right here. Little insight. I hope you can hear me. That I don't have one of those other machines. Understand what I was standing up trying to tell you, that the energy centers, or what they call the chakras, they expand because they're part of my body. My energy center from the waist down is around 300 hertz. That's the first. That is red, red, red. That is anger. That is fear. All these emotions. But don't think they're bad. They're just increments going up to the best. You can't say bad. Don't say positive, good, negative, bad. Get it out of the mind. They always come back together, somehow or other. Well, now, I've got Rahu, the head, materialistic head. It brings me into this material world. It's bringing me into this material world. It's tying me down into this material world. It's getting me into this muck of this material world. And then the chakras come up. Now, those chakras have an increment. I've already said there's increments, there's increments, there's increments. So, there's increments. let's see, got my whiteboard here. So let's say we got this 1, we got 2, we got 3, we got 4, we got 5, 6, and then 7. Remember, there's more, but these are the important ones. Let's see if we can get this picture here nicely. A little rinky dink, but we'll get something here.